Tyla, you're never going to work in this town again. You might work in London and Dubai and Johannesburg and Japan and Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, but this town, Boston, Massachusetts, you'll never work again. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to 10 at a Time, the long form show. My name is Widlin, and thank you for being here today. Crazy week that I've had, and I just want to update you guys. I went to a bachelorette party. It was a joint party in Austin, Texas. You might have seen me talk about it on my story. I'm learning more and more that getting married is the worst thing that you could possibly do to your friend group. It's not the worst thing. It's great. Getting married is great. My friends that are getting married are people who I've known since I was a child, and so we have this group chat, this friend group that's been together since we were like in middle school, high school, people who have watched each other grow up from small ages to large ages, and holy shit, the people almost disbanded. You know how hard it is to plan an Airbnb for 14 people? What? Let alone 14 people who like have separate itineraries. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful. It's a blessing. Love is love is love is love is love is love is love. It's beautiful. And also, maybe we mute the chat for a little bit. We land in Austin, Texas. I'm seeing all my beautiful friends. I rented a car. I came with the bottles. I picked people up from the airport. We end up at the Airbnb. We go out same night. We've been in Austin 5 hours. When I tell you, I'm on the boys' end of this bachelorette trip, so I'm on the bachelor end of it. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at the girls like, what are y'all doing over there? Y'all look like you're having a good time. Can I come? I'll drive. Fuck it. I'm with the boys. These niggas are a mess. They're a mess. Formations, sloppy. Form, sloppy. Technique, non-existent. One of the guys on the trip, we're all staying at the Airbnb. He brings girls back to the Airbnb. We're like, brother, you can't do it. It's not your bachelor party. It's not your bachelor party. Not only that, but hey, can I have the immunity necklace for a second? The girls that he brought back to the Airbnb, immunity necklace, immunity necklace, immunity necklace, please don't be mad at me, were chopped as shit. So it was bad because here's the thing. So my friend Laura is also on this trip. We're in New York together. We went to middle school together. I've known her since I was in the 7th grade. I love her so much. We are on the trip together from New York. They're all from Florida. They're like, oh, the New Yorkers. Yeah, babe, I'm metropolitan. And that coastal elite shit is real. It is real. I'm driving a Grand Wagoneer. There's a built-in mini fridge in the center console. I feel good. I'm thinking about my homegirl, Laura, who's my number one confidant in the house. And when I get back to the Airbnb and when I break bread with Laura and I'm going to have to explain what happened, I'm thinking this man brought these girls back to the house. They're chopped as shit. No offense to them. I'm sure they have beautiful personalities, but in terms of one-night stands in the city you don't live in, I don't think that having a glowing personality is a relevant criteria. So I'm really thinking like, damn, the girls are going to be so fucking mad. They're going to be so upset because we got home before them. When they get here and see this, they're going to be so upset. And the only way that we could possibly explain it maybe is if the girls were bad. If he came into the Airbnb with some baddies, bro, you can explain anything. You'd be like, hey, fine shit came through. You know what I mean? Life happens. You know what I'm saying? It's not my bachelor party. If I was the guy, if I was the person who brought the girls home, I'd say life happens. You know, there are twists, there are turns, there are unexpected opportunities. Sometimes fine shit comes a knocking and you got to answer the call. And everybody, the great American way, everybody can get behind that. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know how rare it is to come up in this country on some fine shit. As mad as I could be, as mad as you can be at how inappropriate it is to bring a girl home to an Airbnb that you're sharing with 14 other people on a bachelor trip that's not your bachelor trip. You know what I mean? It was also a birthday trip and it was not his birthday. As mad as you can be at somebody for kind of like, hey, you had to, walk around the club following these people around. And if it was fine shit, you can let anything out. That's pretty privilege. It doesn't even have to be your pretty privilege. That could be her pretty privilege activating on your behalf. But this, my friend, is untenable. Crazy trip. I did have a lot of fun, though. That's like the truncated version of the story because I don't know how many of my friends actually listen to this show and watch this podcast. So I don't want to get into the too murky details. It was intense. And I love them so much. I love them. We had a lot of fun. We did have a lot of fun. We went to this like human, like this, like, you know, those videos, those arcades where like there are squares on the floor and they light up and you have to like touch the squares that light up on the floor. We went to one of those arcades and there was a laser maze in the arcade, a massive room with like lasers pinging from one wall to another, kind of like those spy movies when it's like, oh, you have to hack into the safe and retrieve the like amulet of Aphrodite. Okay, cool. Aphrodite, not a Greek woman. They don't have any treasure. What's something South Asian? Name a goddess from a country that white people steal from. That type shit, not Greek. Anyway, they have nothing. But you have to steal the amulet of Anubis. That's a good one. The amulet of Anubis. And then they like move through the laser maze. You know what I mean? When I tell you I've always wanted to do that my entire life, I've always wanted to do that. And what a unique thing for this establishment to tap into that childhood dream of mine. They have this like laser maze and you essentially have to walk from one side of the room to the other without knocking into any lasers. You do it in teams of at least 3, right? So it's me, well, let me not dox all my friends. But anyway, teams of 3. One of these motherfuckers has 6 herniated discs. The other one has torn 4 ACLs. The other one has a mesothelioma, and the other one is drunk. This was the most ragtag team of people. You guys got to understand, I'm fucking competitive, bro. I'm real deal competitive. Like, I don't play. You know what I'm saying? Once they say go, and mind you, you know, I'm a physical guy. I played sports. I swam in high school. You know what I mean? I ran track. You know what I'm saying? No contact sports because I'm fragile. And also, I was a theater kid. I took ballet for a long time. I'm nimble. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I stretch. That's the problem with these guys. You guys are tearing shit, you're breaking shit, you're twisting your bodies. It's ACLs and spine fractures and all this stuff. And you don't stretch. You go to the gym, you lift stuff up, you put it down, you're throwing weight. You can't touch your toes. You don't know how big you are. You don't have spatial awareness of how big you are, how long you are, how far back your long ass foot is. You're 6'4" and your back heel just touched the laser. And now we lost a life on the board. We've been on level 3 for 25 minutes on an hour-long reservation. I want to move on. There are 10 levels, and we can't get to level 10 because you don't know that you're long. If I could do it by myself, would have been cleared it. And that's not me being arrogant. That's me being honest. I'm coaching people through it. I'm like, first off, and that's the thing too, these people, they're not, these guys, the girls weren't there, it was just the guys. The guys, they're not mapping the obstacle course before they go in. So they see it for like 2 seconds, then they jump in. I'm like, you didn't even make a plan. You didn't even accurately assess the risks. I want to be a team player. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go in solo. I don't want to ride in solo. I'm riding solo. Putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I don't want to Jason Derulo this. But I just can't help but feel like the team of Rangers we've assembled. Yes, I would be red, but also the rest of the team isn't pulling their weight. The Red Ranger can only do so much. I can't be the Red Ranger. It's not my bachelor party. Anyway, other than that, we drank, we ate. It was beautiful. It was great. I got to put multiple meals on my credit card, and they did sell me for it. So I'm up hella credit card points. Love that. One day we'll talk about credit cards and how I came around to realizing that this is just a little game that you play, and I actually think it's really cool and fun as long as it doesn't ruin your life. The thing that I want to that you probably clicked for and that I do want to talk about is like a couple of things that I've seen online. One thing is resentment. That's the overall theme of this episode. Resentment. And how resentment kind of brews and grows and manifests itself in different areas of your life. You know, resentment is a really powerful emotion and you have to exercise it out of you. It will consume you, dude. Resentment. The first thing that I want to say is I saw this video of this black boy, young man, gay. He's been on my For You page a couple of times. Up and coming creator on TikTok. And I actually don't want to speak too much to his specific like overall experience, because the thing that he was describing is so much to do with like his own life, his own identity as a black queer man, and I don't want to split hairs too much on that, but here's the overall idea. The caption overall on the video is like big on the screen. It says, "I will stop resenting black men when black men love me." Shit, as far as clickbait goes, baby, fuck, that was like, oh my God, really emotionally charged. And that's actually the thing. I think it's so interesting. The place that I'm in on the internet now is that like I'm really cognizant of always taking a step back to be like, wait a minute. Thing on the phone is not real. Thing on the phone is not a threat to me. You know what I mean? Like not letting myself become emotionally invested in what I see on my phone. And so kind of it lets me take on like almost like a voyeuristic lens, not only to the creator, but also to how people are engaging with what the creator of any part, anytime there's an internet discourse, there's the subject and then there's the audience's reaction to the subject. And I feel like sometimes I'm striving to take on a back seat to view both of those phenomenons happening at the same time, not just to the subject and not just the audience, but both. So anyway, I'm watching this boy speak, as I'm reading the comments of people who are like, I feel the same way, and so on and so forth. And here's the gist of what he said is that he's been hurt so many times and rejected, and relive rejection along with resentment. Rejection as a trigger into resentment. You know what I mean? Like really tap into that. He's been hurt and rejected and denied and bullied and ridiculed so much by black men in particular that he's grown to resent them as an overall cast. Here's the thing though. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, not all black men are, you have to hold on to the individual space for all the black men. Like whatever. You're a smart person listening to this, like you come to those conclusions on your own if that's what you believe in. Okay, that's not really what I'm here to say. It's not what I'm here to say, but like that, whatever. Let's get past that. He like anecdotally brings up, the people who bullied him in high school. He anecdotally brings up, the ways that even inside of black queer spaces, the standards that black gay men have in terms of who they choose to love within each other are so difficult to meet. He talks about his father. He talks about anecdotally all of the instances of like black men antagonizing him. So I think like the first thing is that like to this individual, I'm not talking about, don't let this be about you as an individual. But if he happens to see this, whoever you are, I love you, Shelly. I love you, baby. It's not about you, baby. Don't worry, baby. I love you, baby. It's not you, okay? I want to extract him into being like kind of an idea, okay? This is not personal whatsoever. To you, my love, live your life. I'm sorry for that hurt. I hope I hope that you can heal that. I hope that you find black people and black men who love you and cherish you and can hold space for you. You can go to therapy and maybe bury this behind you, right? Because that's what this is. These are all traumas from this person's lived experience, and I'm not here to invalidate that. But the idea, you know what it made me think of? It made me think, sorry. The idea generally of like this projection of your own internalized rejection wounds, your own like, childhood trauma, parental trauma, like all of this stuff, and like externalizing that to the group that you actually want romantic affection for. I mean, that's the core of it, right? Like, this person is a black person and clearly wants love from black people and black men in particular, and like has a particular focus on that type of rejection and how that, being the largest sense of yearning that he feels, being rejected from those people hurts the most. Because the reality is like, look, if you're talking about like hyper masculinity and patriarchal mindsets and like, if you're talking about all of the things that make black men toxic, a lot of those things, are not things that are exclusive to black men. They're things that are exclusive to men, maybe not even exclusive. They're things that appear frequently in men in general across race and class and creed. They might manifest differently, but you're never going to convince me that like white men are less patriarchal. Like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure, right? You're never going to convince me that like Latinos don't have machismo. You know what I mean? Like you're never going to convince me that that's the case. The particular manifestations of those forces and cultures and powers inside of each individual community might be different, but the pillars across those communities are actually quite similar. This thing where you're like, I want love from these kinds of people the most, so when they reject me, it brews a unique type of resentment. It almost reminded me, not this individual, but the idea reminded me of like incel culture, how incels desperately want love and affection. They want the attention and the ownership and the possession of women. They want proximity to women, and being rejected by women, not having access to women, not being able to tap into women the way that they want to, you know. And it's different because that's about consumption and ownership and control and whatever. Those are about patriarchal ideas of who women are and what women are. But that type of like demand to access and rejection sensitivity turning into a kind of resentment, it reminded me of that. And in particular, actually, it reminded me of black nerds who, I'm not saying actually aren't even incels per se. A black nerd will, you know, some nerdy guy will be like, I really liked anime and black girls bullied me for it. And suddenly everybody's like, shut the fuck up. You were in middle school. Get over it, loser. You're holding on to some random girls and what they made you feel in middle school, and now you resent an entire cast of people over it. Get a life. You know what I mean? I've seen it so many times, like on Twitter, like some black guy will get on and be like, hey guys, not gonna lie, I did the Naruto run in the 7th grade, and like people from my own community bullied me, and it did make me feel a way about my own belonging and my sense of belonging, and sometimes I do resent that. And everyone's like, boo, fuck you, stupid. Shouldn't have done the fucking Naruto run. What are you talking about? We never bullied people who liked anime. I liked anime, and I know that y'all are lying. Look, I'm not saying that it made me feel any type of way. You know what I mean? I'm saying I liked anime. I remember how y'all used to talk. This was before the great time shift. This was before the blip. This is before the timeline switched up. You know what I'm saying? This is before the global international Mandela effect that switched up, and now everybody loves K-pop and everybody loves anime and everybody loves fucking matcha. Y'all weren't here. Y'all weren't there when the fucking comic manga shop was right next to the boba tea place. Y'all weren't there. Some of us have built this house. Some of us have built this motherfucking house, and you're welcome to it. Welcome inside. Take your shoes off at the door, right? But that is to say that, like, when there are certain demographics of people who have expressed a very similar thing, everyone is very readily and easily identifies that that actually is like a maladaptive emotional response, and that it's weird and that it's whatever, and are actually very quick to invalidate the experience. I can recognize that it's not an appropriate emotional response, although it is real. I hope that you'll heal through that. But just like I don't validate this black boy who made this TikTok that I just watched about his queer experience, like I'm not going to invalidate his experience. And also these like black nerds, these men who are like, my community rejected me and it deeply impacted my sense of belonging and my attitudes around romance and who I could have it with, right? Like I'm not invalidating their experience either. I just think that the switch up, I'm like, hey, if nothing else, let's keep it consistent, right? The thing is about this queer boy in his video talking about being rejected from black men, and these black men now who express that like when they were boys they were rejected by their community, and even black women have expressed this. This isn't exclusive to men, right? But I'm trying to keep it as one-to-one as possible. But when both of these groups express that, in the instance of this black boy, you open the comments and there's tons of black women who are trying to help this young man process how to move through these difficult feelings around rejection from black men. You know, black women who are like, I relate. I think to me, what it comes down to is actually something quite beautiful, which is that the commonality between all of us is that everyone just wants to be loved. Look at all of these people in black spaces and in different, like these people, and honestly, fuck the identities of all of it. Look at all of these people who are so deeply yearning to be loved. These people want to be loved so much the pain of not being loved or whatever, the pain of not being chosen, of not being satisfied, of not being satiated, of not being whatever, like that hurt bruise into a type of resentment, because look at all of these people who are actually so desperate. That's the kernel of it. Isn't that beautiful in a way? I'm sorry that you're feeling what you're feeling on kind of wherever you're coming from. To this boy, to this guy who made this video, I'm like, I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. I'm so sorry that the narrative you've built around that hurt seems to be something that, like, I just hope that you can work through it. But at the end of it, I think what is so powerful to that guy who made that video is that, like, never lose your desire to love and be loved. That's actually the strongest part of the whole thing that he said. That was actually the most honest admission of all of it, which is that, God, you just want to find a group of people and a person that love you, that accept you, that can hold space for you, that, understand you, and you want to reciprocate that onto someone else. That, to me, is so beautiful. And as much as I'm like, oh, there's a lot of other tricky stuff that we need to work through, I think whenever I'm looking at, conflicts like this, and when we strip all the layers back and, like, just listen in, and sometimes people say it more explicitly than others, but you peel all the layers back and you say, what's actually at the center of this? Longing, desire. I know. And I hope that you find that, man. But this thing about rejection, it also makes me think about Tyla. Brother, oh my God, I cannot. This is actually a litmus test for your screen time. If you have people on your phone that are trying to convince you to be mad at Tyla, get off the phone, my love. Hey, it's time to go to bed. If you have people on your phone that are trying to convince you that Tyla is like an uppity African, whatever, it's time for you to log out, and I need you to cook something for yourself. Call a loved one, call a friend. Watch a movie, maybe. That's not even outside enough. Maybe go for a walk, jog. Where are your running shoes at? Have you checked out Strava? Great community there. So here's the gist. Tyla, at some point last year during her meteoric rise into fame for Water, make me sway, ain't me water, make me lose my breath. Bro, Water was fire. My thing is, I tried to tap into the rest of the Tyla album, and a lot of those songs I could not tell apart until they got to the chorus. If I said, make me sweat, make me water, make me lose my breath, ain't harder, A-R-T. Did we change songs? That was my beef with the Tyla. That was as much beef as I had with Tyla. Because I can go from Water to ART to whatever the else is. And you know what? Actually, my girlfriend loves Al-Marie, who actually is dropping an album pretty soon. I think Black Star, which the album cover for that is so fucking good, dude. The album cover for Al-Marie's Black Star is so good, bro. I saw that and I saw it. Literally, it transcended me. I was like, nah, she's doing something different. But we were in Costa Rica driving from the town that we were staying in Puerto Viejo to San Jose, the capital, to get to the airport. And we were listening straight from Tyla into Al-Marie because we love Africa. We love Africa. We love Africa. And I was like, damn, someday Tyla is going to evolve into like a really dynamic, diverse discography and artistry in the way that I think Al-Marie has. And I'm so excited for her to do that. Not that I'm so excited. I really don't feel very much for Tyla. I think she's a great person. She's great art, good music, beautiful girl. Awesome. But anyway, at some point during that press run, Tyla was like, oh yeah, well, I'm colored. And then a lot of people got upset that she referred to herself as colored because colored in America, the word as a description of racial and ethnic identity is very complex. And so people were like, hey, you can't say that here. And then it became a whole thing where like, oh, well, if Tyla wants to be marketed in America, then she can't refer to herself as colored. She has to refer to herself as black because in this country she's black. And then she was like, no, I'm colored. Like maybe in America I'm black. I get that. But that like I'm colored. Like that's like in South Africa, the racial caste system, like ideas of race and identity are cultural. And in the culture of South Africa, colored is a very legitimate identity. And that's how I identify. And that's how I've identified for the 22 years of my life thus far. Although I know that the nuance of that is different in America. She didn't really give a TED talk about it, but that was like the very accessible answer to the question. And that is the response that she has given, I think, multiple times at this point. And people were like, and I want to say that this is uniquely a Black American issue. I think diasporically speaking, people in every other country who are Black very quickly understood like, oh, that's a culture that's not mine and you are allowed to have it. But Black Americans were like, if you want to make money here, babe, if you want Black Americans to be your audience, you got to do what we say. And this is the thing about the Black American thing, and the Tyla conversation in particular, is that you cannot forget about the America in the conversation. The demand that everything be catered specifically to you, even when they are meant to serve a global marketplace. She's a global star, you know, and like for everything to have to bend to the will of the American audience who will not budge. You want this girl to change the language that she uses to describe her own identity that is legitimate in the country that she was born in and that she references in her music. It's very like no subtitles, dub the movie. You know what I mean? It's very like, why the fuck does this movie have subtitles? This is America, speak English. It's very that. And I think that maybe Black people, not just Black Americans, but Black people generally in America who are born and raised here in like the frame of mind of American people, have a hard time recognizing that they themselves have a very like colonial, imperial, like American centrist mindset sometimes. It's been crazy watching people like antagonize this girl, her going on the Breakfast Club as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, Charlemagne reading a question that's not an approved question from her team and being like, so this colored thing. She looks back at her manager like, I'm not going to answer that. And her manager's like, she's not going to answer that. My bad. To me, valid. What? That's not on the question card. If you wanted to ask that shit, you should have put it on the question card. I told you not to ask it. Now it's disrespectful. Because I told you not to ask that. You get what the optics are. You get what's going on. You get how sensitive this is. And I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about myself. If I had the platform that she had and the eyes on me that she had, and someone asks me the intricate details of my like racial identity in a context where I knew that people were going to be antagonistic to what I had to say. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor little mulatto, poor little light-skinned girl. Like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to have the appropriate amount of empathy that I can have without people accusing me of like having colorist empathy. And that shit is always around the corner. God forbid, you know what I mean? It kind of is like people like, I'm so terrified that I'm going to be like, hey, stop being mean to Tyla. And people are going to be like, you fucker, you know, like, I don't want to, they'll be like, you Uncle Thomas. And I'm like, no. I just think that she's like young and like at a very fragile place in her career. And the things that we're asking her to discuss are very hard to discuss. And also, I don't think that people are being honest about where this is coming from. You know, to watch Tyla, let me tell you this, a compilation, Olivia Rodrigo, Cardi B, I don't know, Rihanna. I've seen a compilation of girls who have won MTV VMAs who are like, oh my God, this is so heavy. Can someone hold this for me? I've seen at least 5 people do it. And then Tyla gets up there and she has an award and she's like, oh my God, this is really heavy. Can someone hold it for me? And they're like, look at her. She's uppity. She's doing it because she looks down on us because she fucking hates us. She doesn't believe in us. She doesn't identify as one of us. She's doing that shit to make us look bad. I'm like, yo, you gotta chill. Hey, you gotta chill. You gotta chill, beloved. To escalate it immediately into, oh, she's doing this specifically as a demonstration to her global audience that she's still above the Black American people. To me, it was very like Ace bringing up his height. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, what the fuck was that other shit that you just brought up? Because the critiques are real. Like, colorism is real, anti-Blackness is real, anti-Black American sentiment is real, xenophobia against Black Americans is real, but also in the same way that like Black Americans are like, well, you're coming here and making music for us and we are the primary consumers of your music, which I don't know if that is metrically true. I don't know. I think it's actually quite presumptuous to be like, your music is on the American charts, and so you have to do the things that you do for us. I think that's very presumptuous and, again, like, American centrist. I just feel like it's kind of like, I'll say I can't relate to it. I call my friends nigga. I say nigga quite frequently. I'll call my homeboy. You know what I mean? That Boondock skit. Can a nigga borrow a pencil? Now how the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like that is how me and my friends talk. So why would I heard somebody say colored. I'm not gonna be like, I'm triggered. Like, that would never trigger me. I literally use one of the most inflammatory words ever invented, and I've reclaimed it for myself. I'm not gonna act like the word colored. It's just like too many hurdles to jump through. Also, like, the NAACP, the C stands for, you know what I'm saying? If it was a really crazy offensive, like, what? I think it's really interesting to, like, zero in on African music, but also zero in on Tyla and demand that she claims, like, whatever percentile of blackness exists in her. Even though when I see that girl, I see a Sri Lankan. I look at that girl, I'm like, Sri Lankan. Like, hello, Bengali. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't actually know what her racial makeup is, but, like, I don't even know if all the way when I look at Tyla, I see someone who is undeniably, unambiguously black. And I think it's interesting that we also have these conversations about how Hollywood and entertainment is being taken over by people who don't look black American enough, and also demand that Tyla claims her blackness as her primary identity when she's in America. Like, I think that those two things are actually at odds with each other, and there's a much more complex and difficult truth in the center of it that people don't really want to wake up. Again, when we're talking about rejection, resentment through rejection, I think about JD, and this is about Haitian people. Haitian people are so, like, rejection sensitive. I think Haitian people that grew up in America in particular, like, are so hung up on the fact that there was a time when people immigrated to America and forced their kids to assimilate, and those children, like, this isn't even me, I just know that this is a fact, like, children of people from all over the world, their kids grew up and tried to deny the culture that they were from, you know. Being proud of where your family came from today is very different than it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. But I remember growing up and seeing other Haitian kids who were like, I'm like, I see your last name. My name is Widlin Pierreville. Like, everyone knows I'm Haitian, and I like being Haitian. I bring Haitian food to school. I talk about Haitian culture. Like, I like that shit, even if I don't speak the language very well, whatever. And on that, Haitian people are so mean, like, are so kind of, like, hyper scrutinous of each other as well. So, like, the barrier to entry, I think the barrier to entry into Haitian culture is so, and that's not like crazy higher, but I think that I won't even compare it to what other people do. I don't know what other cultures do. But for me, something that I don't like about Haitian culture groups is that I'm like, y'all actually are mean. Like, you guys are mean. I didn't learn Creole when I was a kid because people made fun of me because I didn't know how to do the accent. I didn't have a wide vocabulary. It literally deterred me from entering the space. And it's crazy to go from that and then also have people who aren't claiming where they come from, whatever. I think at this point, Haitian people are so, like, rejection sensitive that they're like, if you didn't claim being Haitian when you were 11 years old, then don't claim it now. Are you good, dog? You gotta low key, you do have to let that go. Like, that, like, it was a different time. There was different circumstance. Everybody's different, whatever. But, like, when I watched Love Island and I saw JD on there, and JD's like, Puerto Rico en la casa, puñeca. That sounded crazy, JD. And then there are Haitian people who are like, why is he pretending to be Puerto Rican? To me, I'm like, no, he didn't. Everybody goes on Love Island and they say their hometown where they currently reside. They tell you what their address is. They don't claim their ethnicity or their nationality. Do you think Sierra got up in there and claimed in Mexico and goddamn Olandria? Well, Olandria's American, my bad. I always forget Olandria's American because why are you Ola something and you're not Nigerian? That's so crazy. And also, why do you look like that and you're not Nigerian? Like, everything about you says, you know what I'm saying? Olandria on the bait and switch. You know what I'm saying? Like, she looked like she knows a good foo-foo spot, but she's from Alabama. I'll let it rock. I'll let it rock, Olandria. Because you continent fishing. You're continent fishing right now. Anyway, watching Haitian people and their rejection sensitivity preemptively, like, band against JD and what they projected and assumed was a type of like identity turmoil, when in actuality he did what everyone goes on Love Island and says they tell you where they live right now. He didn't. No one's up there doing their ancestry.com. It was an unfair expectation, and it was a weird like break from the rules, as if JD was supposed to be the only person to go up there. Huda didn't go up there and say, I'm Palestinian. She said, I'm from North Carolina. So to expect JD to go up there and be like, I'm 10th generation Haitian American on both sides. Like, what the fuck? That's not the prompt. But your paranoia and sensitivity is at such a like heightened alert that you expected something different from someone who actually does belong inside of your culture, even if he doesn't speak the language, doesn't eat the foods, doesn't whatever. And now he's gotten out and he's like, hey guys, I know I'm Haitian. Now he's like responding to the kind of hypercritical nature that exists inside of Haitian whatever. So to me, anyway, blah, 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 blah. I say all that to say, like, I'm clocking that type of racialized, ethnic rejection sensitivity and what it looks like when people project their own history of rejection onto individuals that don't necessarily deserve it, and in situations that it doesn't necessarily apply. So I think like there's like a parallel between I think what JD's experiencing and people being like, prove where you're from to me right now. How dare you follow the prompt the way everyone else follows the prompt. And like this hypercritical, hyper scrutinous nature in which that people talk about Tyla. The last thing is Cardi B and Samira. I'm not going to talk on Cardi B or Samira as individuals. Samira's my mutual. She's been a mutual for a long time. She's one of my first mutuals. I think she's a very talented girl. And like obviously this dogpiling of her as like she's an influencer. She's a content creator. But she isn't a celebrity in the same way that Cardi B is a celebrity with like, you know, seemingly endless resource, different types of protections. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not the same. And I think this conflict, if you're not aware of it, Cardi B, I guess, has a clothing line, and the XL, XXL, large like sizes of it sold out faster than the rest of the clothing line. Cardi B's on live, she's telling a joke, you know, and she's like, Kiki, like, damn, y'all sold out the extra large sizes of my line. Shit, y'all got to get away from the Chick-fil-A, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, well, you know, it's not a joke that I would make, but I know people joke like that, but that's not a joke that I would make. And Samira, who is a content creator and an artist and a plus size activist and advocate, was like, hey, that joke was really offensive and that was not appropriate to say. Mind you, the only context in which that would be inappropriate to say to someone who like blatantly has exhibited a type of identity-based prejudice or body-based prejudice is fatphobia. Like if it was some colorist shit that Cardi B had said, Samira speaking up on it wouldn't have been a problem. If it was like anti-black, racist, classist, whatever, it wouldn't have been a problem. It's just like specifically fatphobia. People close their ears and like plug their eyes and whatever. It's la 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 la. I can't hear you. I fucking hate that fatphobia shit, dude. I think that shit is so corny, bro. I think the way people talk about it is so corny. Like people like write it off like it's nothing. That shit is corny as fuck, bro. It's lame. And every time I hear somebody write off fatphobia, participate in fatphobia, you know what I mean? I just feel like every time I hear someone participate in any kind of fatphobia, it just tells me like this person does not love themselves unconditionally. Bing, 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 bing. You're talking to someone who does not love themselves unconditionally. You're talking to someone who only loves themselves when they look and behave and act and have certain things. And that shit is like weird to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's sad. It's like, dare I say, loserish. I think fatphobia is like a big loser radar. That's one. I think I've told this online before. One time I went to the store and I had to buy underwear, and I bought this like 3-pack of underwear, and then I got back home and I realized that they were too big. But they were too big by a lot, you know? They were too big by a lot. And so I put them on and I was like, who the fuck was this even made for? Why would they even sell underwear like this? I like had a fit about it. I was tired. I went to the store, I got something I wasn't thinking, and then I came home and I was so upset at the thought of like, why was the thing that fits me for my body, which is a privileged body in many ways, why was it not right in front, readily accessible so that I could reach blindly, grab something and walk out? Why the fuck was someone else's shit in the front? And I immediately had to clock myself and say, oh my gosh, what a like super privileged, arrogant thing to say, that like, why was my body not catered to as the default body? God forbid my body, like, you know, someday many of us will become disabled. Many of us, our bodies will change. Like, God forbid my body changes from the thing that I have built so much comfort around and entitlement around. That shit's gonna slap me in the face hard as hell. So I had to super check myself at that time. It was such a small thing. Like, and at that time, if you had asked me, like, I was like, yeah, no, like, fat phobia sucks. But like, I had to catch myself in real time in that moment. And so listening to this conflict, it became a multi-day back and forth between Cardi B, Samira, Cardi B, who doesn't want to back down. She's like, Samira, it was a joke. Shut up. Like, you're too sensitive. Y'all are too sensitive nowadays. Like, I didn't mean it that way. You already know. And Samira being like, you can't call me, well, Cardi B actually said it and it was mean. Like, she was mean about it. And Samira being like, you shouldn't speak to me that way. And also you shouldn't speak about things that way. Now Samira's mom is on the internet. She's crying over her daughter, which is real. You can cry over your baby girl. She's crying over her daughter online, talking about like, I raised this girl and I love her no matter what. Y'all can never change that. And it's not even about the interpersonal conflict. That's the thing, is that what was a conversation about the systemic, the institutional, the like medical, financial, social, like whatever implications of fat phobia and prejudice against large bodies. It turned from that kind of structural institutional conversation to instead being a conversation about these two people and their interpersonal relationships and their interpersonal conflict. That's not what this is about. I watched The Biggest Loser documentary a couple days ago. And y'all, you gotta watch it, bro. You gotta watch it. People being like, I'm tired of this body positive shit. I keep seeing that online. I'm tired of this body positive stuff. I'm tired of this woke. We got to bring back bullying. People who are losers, like visually losers, getting online talking about, we got to bring back bullying. Who do you think they would bully? They would bully you. You suck. You suck. The only reason you're even able to have the platform that you have to get on here and say, let's bring back bullying, is because bullying is like downward trending, and so no one's bullying you. If bullying was like, if it was pro bullying, we would bully you. You fucking suck. You're annoying. You're living in this bliss that it wouldn't be you. It's like how they say, oh, all working class people think that they're just temporarily embarrassed future millionaires. That's what it is. Y'all have the world is actually sweet in a good way. Dude, the world culture has progressed so much, so beautifully. There are so many. I was trying to tell my baby cousin this the other day. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, you think shit is sweet because you turn on TV, you see all these characters that look like you. We go to the bookstore, they're books about, 4C, natural textured hair, all this stuff. There was none of that. People are like, yeah, bring back like thin is in, bring back early 2000s thinness. I'm like, y'all, there's no way, bro. I'm not even a woman, and I'm not even old enough to remember that stuff. But I remember looking at pictures and people being like, Jessica Alba is fat, and I'm looking at Jessica Alba and she's bad. Me as a young person, I'm like, Jessica Alba, bad. They're like, she's gained a lot of weight in great places. Like, you know what I mean? Y'all are looking at it with rose tinted glasses, and you have such hateful, nasty spirits. And you're so privileged by the inclusion that the body positive movement has built for you. You're so blinded, you can't even tell what this movement has given to people like you and people like me, people like all of us. That you're actually like, let's go back, thinking that the place you want to go back to is a place that would include you. It's not. It's not. This isn't about Cardi B, and it's not about really Samira. This is about the conversation that they started. And me watching The Biggest Loser documentary and watching the ways that, like, can you empathize with that for a second, right? I'm watching these people who are tormented by the body that they exist inside of. Not even the body that they exist inside of, but the culture that body exists in, the society that body exists in. The culture that's putting donuts and pizza out on the table and saying like this is the temptation challenge, framing it as though fatness is about moral failure. Oh, these people need more virtue. They need more discipline. That's why they look like that. So if you don't look like that, it's because you're a better person. You have the moral structure to resist things, to resist temptation, to resist this, to resist that, ignoring all the biological implications and whatever. These people, like I'm watching a documentary about people who hate what they're living through so badly, feel so helpless inside of it. They are destroying themselves. They're putting themselves through a humiliation ritual. People who don't give a fuck about them, who are profiting off of their degradation. Do you understand? You know what I'm saying? Profiting off of it. Because they live in a culture that's like forced them to hate themselves so deeply. They're fracturing their bones and injuring themselves. They're putting their bodies at risk because to them, risking death is better than living in the body as they live in it, in the culture that they live in. Do you understand how fucking deep that is, bro? How much that, like, I'm talking about feelings. So these jokes, I'm watching people get on and be like, y'all got to take a joke. Y'all got to take a joke. Even plus size people who are like, yeah, I just learned to laugh it off. I would never ask you to laugh it off. You shouldn't laugh it. You're not a clown. Just because you are the way you are and look the way you look, that'll never make you a clown. You know? And that's a slippery slope if we're considering the ways that like fatness and blackness has a combined history. Anti-fatness, fatphobia, fat shaming is connected to anti-blackness and racial bias. Shit wasn't even funny. If you're going to say it, make it funny, you know. But y'all got to know the history of, you know, the hypersexualization and the, you know, the pathologizing of black women's bodies and the ways that those bodies carry weight and move weight, curvaceousness. Venus Hottentot, you know, the lady with the big rump who got shipped from place to place to place, and the framing of her body as primitive because of its composition. It's not just about fatness. It's about so many. It's about class. It's about race. It's about ethnicity. It's you know, and it is about health. I'm not even trying to like. I know people are gonna be like, oh well, health. Absolutely. But what is healthier? The way that they are like, dog. You could trip and fall into some Ozempic these days. I heard they're fucking advertising Ozempic on the TV commercial. They're giving Ozempic out of ice cream trucks like candy. Barely a prescription, half a prescription. You can get on Ozempic. You know what I mean? It's like, what's really healthier, that we're peddling these hyper pharmaceutical solutions? I don't want to say solutions because I don't super want to frame it as a problem, but to these people, it's a problem. So these hyper pharmaceutical solutions, or that you actually encourage people to feel comfortable as they are and then strive for the things that they strive for independently of all of this pressure and resentment from the culture. Woo! Sorry, y'all. I got on a soapbox for a second there. I was doing a little too much. I feel like I wasn't funny. And that's the primary thing that I want to be. Probably more than smart, I want to be funny. Actually. Like, because funny people are smart. Like, obviously, I would be smart. But, like, the experience that I want you to have while watching this is that you're like, God damn, man, that guy is so funny. I want you to be like, oh, my God, he's so funny. He makes me laugh. Sometimes people come up to me on the street, and it happens more frequently now. And they'll be like, oh my God, I love your videos. And I'm like, thank you so much. They're like, you're so smart. I'm like, oh, I'm a comedian, actually. I'm actually a comedian and an entertainer. That's actually you know what I mean? Like, I want so bad for this to be like medicine going down with a little bit of sugar, like a little bit of medicine going down with a lot of sugar. That's like actually what I want it to be. But sometimes I just start going and I just start talking this shit. And the thing is that People can think you're smart one day and think you're dumb as hell the next day, but funny doesn't lie. That's the truth. If I said something wrong and incorrect right now, people could strip me of the title of being smart. And they have. Whenever I've said something stupid online in the past, one day I was always right, my takes never miss, and the next I was a fool. But funny doesn't lie. Anyway, I think that's all I have for you. I got to catch a train because I got to get back to New York. I'm in Boston right now. I got to get back to New York. And I think the next episode you guys see from me, I'm either going to be on my way to Europe or in Europe. So keep a lookout for that. Oh, my God. Every time I talk to you, I'm gonna be in a different place. It's exotic in this. It's a travel vlog. Oh God, I have so many vlogs to edit. I love you so much. My name is Widlet. I shouldn't say that because I don't want you to get put. Anyway, my name is Woodland Pureville. This has been 10 at a time, the long form show. If you want to find me, you can find me everywhere as @NowWoodland. And I appreciate you. Leave a comment below about anything that you think about this. And I'm excited to keep that conversation going. All right. Bye.